Your best people are quietly looking for other jobs. Team meetings are just a little tense these days, and people are fed up, but no one's talking about it. If this sounds familiar, your workplace may have crossed from challenging to toxic. And as a leader, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So hold on for what's next. Welcome to Crossroads and Catalyst, the podcast with Shanita B. I am your host. This is where we discuss how a thoughtful, wise, and strategic perspective at a crossroads can be the catalyst for change. Our executive brief today is on toxic workplace culture, and we're going to spend the next 20 minutes on how to spot the warning signs before your team collapses and what you can actually do about it. So, what's the crossroads here? You recognize that something feels just a bit off and you've noticed that your team used to be engaged and collaborative, but now, well, people have checked out. They're calling in sick more often. Voluntary turnover rates may even be climbing. And then there's the tension in meetings that didn't used to be there. You might have told yourself that it's no big deal or people are just being sensitive. But what's actually happening is your workplace culture has deteriorated to the point to where it's damaging people. And the longer you wait to acknowledge it, the harder it becomes to fix. And the more talent you lose, and really, you can't afford to lose any good people on your team. You're trying to demonstrate your leadership ability, and that is very difficult to do when your team is fleeing. Okay. And so, by the way, if you are a leader in a toxic workplace and you need some guidance on what to do, then go ahead and click the link in the show notes to submit your crossroads. And it may even be featured on a future Crossroads Spotlight episode. And don't forget to follow and share the show with other leaders. So, what are the stakes here? Toxic workplace culture does not just make people unhappy, it destroys performance. And another thing that it does is it kills innovation, and you definitely will not be able to keep good talent. And, one of the worst things about it is you may potentially be exposing the organization for which you work to legal liability because this is how problematic toxic work culture is. And as a leader, your job is not simply to survive it. Okay. You have a responsibility to disrupt it or at the least help your team escape it if there's nothing else, if there are no viable options for you to take in order to mitigate this. So the root issue is that toxic workplaces, they don't happen overnight. Okay. It is few, far, and in between that it's just the issue of one person or even one decision. This is really the result of patterns that get normalized over time. Okay. And these are patterns that either the leader has actively created, you have passively allowed, or you really feel powerless to change. And ultimately, leaders are the ones who have the ability to change it. And of course, yes, this depends on what level of leadership and authority you may potentially have, but there is always an option for you. So, right now, I want to give you 5 signs that your workplace has gone toxic. Sign number one, fear based decision making. This is what it looks like. People just stop talking in the meetings. They won't even share, even if they know that they hear something. You recognize maybe even the body language may have changed, but they're not speaking up. Uh, if the ideas get shot down in public, well, that's definitely a way to guarantee that no one is going to speak up. If someone makes a mistake and those mistakes are punished, well, if they're going to be berated as a result of it, well, then they're definitely not going to share anything. And the reason why this matters is because it kills innovation, honesty, and performance. And you want to get the best out of your team members and you want to help them to hone their skills. And it's difficult to do that if they're afraid to share their ideas or to speak up. Sign number two, high turnover. And this is especially important amongst top performers. Okay. The reason this is so important is because the best people, they're not sticking around for this nonsense. They will leave. And your exit interviews will reveal consistent themes that you or other leaders are ignoring. Okay. You're constantly recruiting to replace people. And the reason why this matters, good people, they always have options. And they are the first ones to leave toxic work cultures. And I have personal experience with this. I've been a part of a toxic work culture and I've hired people into toxic work cultures, not even realizing how extensive the toxicity was. I hired someone and this person left after 7 days. 7 days. 7 days, just think about that. Very disappointing, and once we found out, I mean, some things just went downhill in the aftermath of that. But my point is, when people have options, they're not gonna put up with it. They're just not. Sign number 3, gossip and backstabbing replace direct communication. What does this look like? Well, people are complaining about each other, but they're never talking to each other. And then you get these passive aggressive emails that replace conversations. And we all know what those aggressive emails or communications look like. Um, Trust has evaporated, and then people start to break off into cliques and silos. People will poison the well, when new hires come in, and they will try to turn them against leadership. I've seen that too. I've seen it. And it's one of those things. Um, you're always kind of sometimes left scratching your head wondering why people do these types of things, but oftentimes it's because they've not been called out on it. So you have to call people out. And the reason why this matters is that it signals that broken communication systems, uh, that they're, well, let me take that back. Let me restate that. It signals that there are broken communication systems and it completely destroys the psychological safety that you may be trying to build up within your team. Sign number 4, burnout is the norm and not the exception. Well, what does it look like? Well, long hours are considered a badge of honor. Okay. Taking PTO is discouraged, or you make people feel badly when they do. People will work if they are sick or just completely exhausted. And the reason why this matters, well, when you normalize burnout, well, what you're doing is you may be leading people down a path of an unhealthy lifestyle. You might get more mistakes in your work and projects, and people will begin to resent you as a result. I had an employee resign and take another job because of burnout. Now, this was something that had happened long before I got there. And there was no opportunity for me to recover this person. They were done. They were completely fed up. So it happens on a regular basis. Sign number 5, leaders model or tolerate bad behavior. And so what does this look like? Well, you have some of the senior leaders who are bullying people, they're yelling and humiliating people in front of their colleagues. Your poor performers stay behind, they stay on the team because they know, you know, they don't have anything to lose. All is well. The rules are applied inconsistently. And we all know what it's like to work in an environment where we've been treated unfairly or we've witnessed others be treated unfairly. It's just not right. Um, and so, why does this matter? Well, the culture is determined by the worst behavior that leadership tolerates. So, if they accept people who demonstrate the worst values, okay, and they get away with it, well, that is the norm. So here's some critical questions that you need to ask yourself. Number 1, are your best people leaving and telling you why and nothing changes? Consider that. Number 2, do people feel safe disagreeing with leadership? Again, this goes back to that fear. And number 3, would you want your own child to work in this environment if you have children or siblings? Would you want your brother or sister or one of your parents to work in an environment like this? A lot of you recognize what it's like for your parents because maybe your parents have shared with you or verbalized when you were younger what it was like at work on a particular day when things or days and weeks, and people put up with bad environments because of their circumstances. But if they have an option to leave, a lot of people will. So, what kind of choices do we have? Well, as a leader in a toxic workplace, you have several choices. I'm going to give you several to consider. Option A, you can just ignore it and pretend that it's not that bad. And it's gonna feel like you're avoiding the conflict and that you're just maintaining the status quo. You might even feel like you're maintaining a good presentation before the other leaders. But the downside is this is that you have become complicit in this type of culture. And your best people are leaving and you're damaging your own reputation because what it's demonstrating is that you don't have any integrity. And the reality of it is, denial does not fix toxicity, it only enables it. Option B, complain but do nothing. You complain about the toxicity, but you don't do anything about it. And what this might look like, you might be complaining alongside your team. And so they might feel like you're standing in solidarity with them. And so all of you are together and you're venting frustration. But all this does is undermine your credibility and it spreads negativity. It does not accomplish anything. And so the reality of this is that your team, they really need your leadership. They don't need commiseration. They can commiserate with one another. They don't need you for that. They need you to stand up for them and have their back. Option C, you take strategic action within your sphere of influence. Now, what this will do is it will create positive change for your team, and it will certainly demonstrate that you have the ability to lead and you're modeling courage for others. And sometimes all it takes is for one person to stand up. Now, the flip side of this, okay, there's going to be a flip side. It may put you at odds with senior leadership. So this is definitely going to require some risk and some effort. So I don't want you to move forward and think that it's just going to be easy street. But the reality is that this is what leadership actually looks like in difficult situations. You're taking a stance for what is good and what is right. Okay. And so we have to look at this from two different angles, the positional authority and the transformational authority. And so this is what leaders can actually do if you have the positional authority. Action number one, you can create safety within your team. You can establish team norms that counter the toxic culture. Okay. Model vulnerability and direct communication and protect your team from organizational dysfunction whenever possible. So this week, have a team meeting acknowledging the challenges and committing to how your team will operate differently. You just need to be open and honest about it. You might not be able to impact what is going on across the greater organization, but you can set a different example for your own team. Action number 2, address whatever bad behavior directly. Do not tolerate toxicity on your team, even if it's tolerated elsewhere within the organization. And you may find that this is going to happen, but give clear feedback using behavioral language. So you want to speak directly to the behavior that is being demonstrated that you want to get rid of, and then document it and escalate it as necessary. So this week, identify at least one toxic behavior that you've been tolerating and address it so that you don't have to continue to deal with it. And if it continues to pop up, well, then you escalate it according to the policy of your organization. All right. Action number 3, advocate upward and do this carefully. You have to speak to this directly and you want to bring data about the turnover, performance issues, or even the morale, and you want to make leadership aware. They might already be aware, they might not. You're just going to go forward and present the information in black and white. And you want to frame it as a business problem, not a complaint. You don't want to go forward and just vent some frustrations. If you're going to present a problem, you must present a solution. So this week, prepare at least one concrete recommendation with a business case and detail for them what can be done to fix it. Action number 4, build exit strategies for your team. You want to help your team develop the people skills that will help to make them marketable. This is what you need to be doing anyway. You want to prepare your team for what could happen, which what could happen is leadership may not listen. And so you don't want to be caught flat-footed like this. So this week, you want to have some career development conversations with your direct reports. Just ask them, where is it that you see yourself in a few years? And how can I help you to get there? And point out to them some of the things that they could be working on. And if and so this next segment, if you don't have the power to change the system, well, then some of the things that you can actually do to impact that would be number one, protect your own well-being. You have to set some boundaries around the work hours and availability. Do that for yourself and do that for your team. You do not want to avail yourself to the organizational dysfunction because it will take you down. That system has been in place for quite some time. It's going to take more than one person to undo all of that mess. So this week, identify one boundary that you need to establish and hold the line. Action number two, document everything. You want to keep records of the toxic behavior, especially if it affects you. Save your documents, note the dates and the witnesses, protect yourself legally and professionally. And this is a documentation that you maintain. Now remember, you are working on others on a company's laptop, computers, accessing their information. So if you're going to be documenting anything, it needs to be information that is not going to get you in trouble. Okay, be aware of that. You have to be careful when you're documenting information. I'm not telling you to go in and start printing a bunch of information from the organization's servers. You have to exercise some discernment when you do this. Action number three, build your exit plan and strategy. You make sure that you update your resume and your LinkedIn profile if you have one. And I would suggest that all of you get one because it's a great way to connect with people and to see what positions are available and what they require. And make sure you have some money in the bank because you never know what will happen in a toxic environment. You might get cut even sooner than you think. And so make sure that you have some dollars in the bank. So this week, set a timeline for your reassessment and do something like, if X does not change by this date, I'm going to do Z. Okay. Action number four, do not sacrifice your integrity. Avoid the toxic behavior and do not participate in it. You don't want to go along to get along in situations like this because it will always come back to bite you. Your reputation matters more than your job. And people do talk and people will try to make you believe that they do not talk behind your back or that uh, they will say a good word. Believe me, these conversations that take place via text message and in these back rooms, they are not always favorable. So just take that into consideration. So how will you know that you've made some strides or that you've had some success? Well, your team is going to feel a little safer and they're going to be more engaged than the broader organization is. And if you might be able to tell this even with surveys, because a lot of organizations they do surveys and some of them do them on a regular cadence throughout the year, not just once a year. So that may definitely be one way that you would be able to tell if you've made some strides there. If you recognize that you're retaining good people longer than other teams, that's definitely a win. And if you have a clear plan, whether it's to stay or to fight or even a strategic exit, well, that's a success. We should always be ready. We always want to be ready for what could come. So it's a good idea to refresh your resume on a regular basis. What is the executive summary? What is the bottom line here? Well, the bottom line is this: toxic workplaces do not fix themselves. And if you're hoping that it's going to get better, well, you have bought the lie. And so don't do that. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. As a leader, you have to decide, am I going to create a pocket of sanity for my team? Am I going to advocate for some change? Or am I going to have to get out and help my people get out? Now, the risk level for something like this, it is critical because staying in a toxic culture without a strategy, it damages your health and your career. And potentially it could damage your own reputation because everybody gets mud on themselves and they might get a little burned by working in a toxic work culture. So, your decision timeline, you have to do something this month. You have to assess whether you can create meaningful change or if you need an exit plan. So consider that. And don't just go to work and up and quit. You have to have a plan. This just goes back to having a plan. And I hope that this was helpful. And I want you to be aware that you always have a choice. You do not have to go with the flow and go along to get along, especially in these toxic work cultures, because again, they will suck the life out of you, and before you know it, you you won't even recognize yourself in the mirror, and that's not what you want. So take it seriously, develop a plan of action, and do what you can within your sphere of influence. All right. So next week, we're going to be talking about the excuse me, I can't even get my words out. We're going to be talking about the authenticity trap. And really, I want to focus on this aspect of authenticity when people take that and they use it as an excuse for their misbehavior. All right. So if you're navigating a toxic workplace as a leader, you do not have to deal with this by yourself. Remember to go into the show notes and click the link and submit your challenge so that I can read through it and I can get back with you. And be sure to leave me a review and follow and share the episode. And remember, crossroads reveal who you are, catalysts shape who you become. Every decision matters, so make it count. I'll talk to you next week for your next executive brief.